the JSE today mixed in line with global markets, and that's because of what we're seeing in the new wave of coronavirus infections in the US as well as the UK. The rand was a little bit weaker today, and that's mainly because investors were waiting to see what the South African Reserve Bank was going to do. Chantal Marx is the head of investment research and content at FNB Wealth and Investments, joins me now to discuss what happened on the local bourse. Chantal, many thanks for your time this afternoon. Let's discuss the overall performance on the JSE today. Stark contrast from the numbers that we saw yesterday or earlier in the week, as well as the rand weakening quite significantly.
Yes, absolutely. It seems as if global markets generally are taking a bit of a breather, and the main reason for that is that the COVID-19 impact on economic growth globally is far from over. So even though you do have the hope or the prospect of a vaccine resulting in a normalization of economic activity at some point in the future, I think market participants are still a little bit concerned that they may have become a little bit too excited about these vaccines before they actually had to go into production, get distributed, and actually get given to people.
Right. Let's move on to some company news now. Life Healthcare released its results today. What did you make of those?
So Life Healthcare actually put out a very detailed trading update a few weeks ago, and then an updated trading statement a couple of days ago. So we more or less knew what to expect. We knew that headline earnings per share was going to come under a lot of pressure, and that was going to be driven by a weak revenue as a result of COVID-19 lockdown restrictions, which resulted in these healthcare groups not being able to actually perform elective surgeries during the lockdown period. So it was always going to be a pretty weak result. We did see their international operations performing slightly better than their South African operations, and because the margins there are a little bit tighter, that had a further negative impact on the bottom line.
Well, one result that wasn't weak today, Chantal, that came out was Investec, them even being able to declare a dividend because of how well they've been doing.
Yes, this was an interesting one because I think the market really liked this result when it first came out because of that dividend. But if you delved into it a little bit deeper, a lot of the strong performance, or seemingly strong performance, or better than expected performance, was driven by cost cuts. And if you look at revenue, or the money that it actually earned from clients, that also came under pressure. So the share price did end up quite a bit down on the day, despite the fact that they surprisingly declared a dividend.
Right, and then just a final thought from you, what's happened with ABSA?
Yeah, ABSA also had their results out, third quarter results out this morning. It's more of a trading update, so we don't have specifics like what their profit was for the specific period, but it did seem to be quite solid. We saw some reasonable revenue growth coming out of that business, surprisingly, given the current environment, and it was actually better than what was expected by the rest of the market. They also managed to keep their expenses in check. And as a result, you saw a bit of an improvement there in terms of their margins, or what they call their operating jaws. Also, interestingly, was the credit loss ratios, or the credit experience in terms of customer defaults and expectations for customer defaults going forward. And there's definitely been a bit of an improvement there over the last 3 months. So that would be the period from the end of June to the end of September, relative to the previous period, which was from December to June, that really took the brunt of that lockdown.
The defaults and seeing that improvement, especially in the current climate. Chantal Marx from FNB Wealth and Investments, as always, thank you for your time this afternoon.